Hi everyone, it's lovely to meet you all. By way of introduction, my name is Ian and I'm a Senior Product Manager here at Octopus Deploy. Welcome to SHIPPED23. I'm currently at the Octopus Deploy office. Hopefully you can see the little tentacle in the background, which is a big feature of the office here. And yeah, really excited to be chatting with all of you today about multi-tenancy. So today, a lot of my presentation is going to be all about the new, wonderful, and powerful features we've brought to our unique and first-class multi-tenancy feature in Octopus. Tenants in Octopus is one way in which you can model your deployments. And for some of our new and existing customers, it's the only way that teams can visualize and execute their deployments in Octopus. So really excited to be speaking here with you today. And yeah, just can't wait to show you all the good stuff that we've been working here on multi-tenancy. Yeah, so just a quick shout out to the team before I start off. So, as mentioned, I'm a senior product manager here, and the team that I am currently working in is called the Modeling at Scale team. And these are all the lovely team members that we have, and they're primarily responsible for releasing all of the new features that I will be showcasing today. So just wanted to give a big shout out to the team, and and just wanted to sort of highlight the success of the team members in shipping all the great stuff that we've done this year. Awesome. So this is the agenda that we'll walk through for today's seminar. So firstly, we'll just walk through sort of what is multi-tenancy in Octopus. Sometimes the terms can be sort of conflated or sort of misunderstood directly with other sort of common terms around tenants in the DevOps world. So I just want to really highlight what we think about multi-tenancy and how that works for us in Octopus. I'll also go through sort of the benefits of using multi-tenancy in Octopus and how you can use Octopus in order to supercharge your multi-tenanted deployments. And then we'll finally get to some of the good stuff, which is around the new features that the team has been working on and have shipped for the multi-tenancy features. So, for example, a new overview dashboard for multi-tenancy, a couple of bolt actions in order to quickly onboard your teams onto Octopus around tenants and projects. And finally, a really exciting new bulk deployments feature that really speeds up a lot of deployments that you have to thousands and thousands of tenants that you may one day host on Octopus. So first off, what I really want to talk about is what is multi-tenancy in Octopus? And again, the reason why I want to sort of talk about this is because there's sometimes a couple of ways in which this term can be used. Sometimes folks are a bit confused by what tenants are, and I just really want to take the time to explain how we think about it in Octopus. Before that, basically, we must understand like what projects are in Octopus, what we consider as projects in our product. So at a basic level, what we mean by projects is that it represents a deployment configuration for an application. One of the key pieces of the deployment configuration is the deployment process itself, which can be set up in Octopus. So for example, here what you're seeing is a step-by-step deployment process that you can very easily define and configure and really easily and have a really visual way to sort of see different steps of your deployment process. And the way that we've set it on Octopus is that these are the sort of steps that you got to take, and it must be performed in a very specific order for your deployment process to ultimately succeed. And basically what it is that the deployment process can be defined once per application and then reused across testing and production environments. So let's say, for example, we worked at a retail store and we had an application that was used by our customers to make purchasing decisions within the store itself. Now, typically what that means is that to ensure that customers are browsing the inventory that's local to the store, we would have a copy of each application at each location running on the servers in the store to provide the best possible experience. The process in which we would need to deploy that application doesn't change. The only thing that's really going to change are minor configuration items, such as the name that's displayed at the top of the screen, as well as the various connections to databases or other services. Essentially, what this means is that this is where the multi-tenancy feature in Octopus can really benefit your team and help scale that deployment process to hundreds of thousands of stores, or in the Octopus world, the stores are the tenants. So physical locations like what I just walked through is a very common scenario if you run software in brick and mortar locations. You may need separate deployments because each site has its own needs, like time zones, outage windows, and technology. But Octopus allows you to deploy to all physical locations and meet those needs without duplicating the effort. And another example is isolated infrastructure for each of your SaaS customers. So in this scenario, you host a SaaS or a PaaS platform, and many customers access it in their own instance, which is very common for many SaaS platforms. And basically what it is that Octopus's tenants feature lets you define your process once and deploy to each customer instance almost immediately. That is because tenants are a predefined group of application hosts. And when we talk about what we mean by tenants, is that some of the examples can be retail stores, branch offices, your customer infrastructure, as we mentioned in that sort of SaaS or PaaS sort of scenario. And this is especially if the Octopus user is a B2B provider and you need to deploy to your customer's infrastructure, or you need to deploy to an isolated cloud infrastructure per customer, and maybe it's a different cloud region for a variety of different legal reasons. This can also represent data centers. So, for example, a data center is located in Salt Lake City, and another is located in Austin, Texas, and another is located in Brisbane, Australia, which is where the Octopus deploy offices. Then they will have slightly different configurations, but generally the process needs to be the same. Or last but not least, they can also be an isolated testing lab in which you might be deploying to physical hardware, and they need to be able to support a variety of different hardware configurations. So there is a testing lab that represents the different configurations essentially. Basically, the most important thing to understand is that the host for each of these tenants runs a copy of the application on the predefined group of hosts, but they require slightly different configurations. As such, multi-tenancy in Octopus Deploy allows you to scale a single deployment process to hundreds or even thousands of different tenants. And you can define your deployment process just once, and it can be used as many times as you want to deploy to all of your related tenants. This makes deployment and configuration at scale easy and simple for your team, and allows you to replicate your deployment process with little to no fuss at the same time. All right, now that we've talked a little bit about the background of multi-tenancy in Octopus and how we take a look at it, what I'd like to sort of cover off next are some of the benefits that you can expect, or some of what our customers currently are experiencing of using multi-tenancy in Octopus. So one of the key benefits of using multi-tenancy in Octopus is the ability to release across environments. So using Octopus, you can manage your tenanted deployments how it best suits you and your team. You're able to deploy to one tenant, some tenant, or all of your tenants at once, or for specific release rings based on defined tenant tags. Another benefit of using multi-tenancy in Octopus is that, again, as mentioned, you're able to define your deployment process just once, and then use that to seamlessly connect to either side of your deployment pipeline and use it for as many customers or locations as you need. And you can manage each of your tenants' unique processes, customizations, and features using, again, tenant tags and variables as well. Another benefit of it is that you're able to configure variables for each tenant. So you can define your variable values like database connection strings or API keys. They're different for each tenant in your project. So still being able to use the single deployment process, but using variables to really have that powerful configuration and powerful flexibility in order to define different sort of deployment processes for different tenants. And finally, you can also create tenants and perform routine tasks with ease. So you can use this. You can do this using our runbooks feature essentially. So you can use runbooks to sort of automate tenants and infrastructure provisioning whenever you need. You can sort of manage your backups, your database maintenance, and service failover and restoration with one click. And I know I said finally just now, but then I realized I had another slide. So this is actually the final slide on the benefits, which is you're able to monitor your tenanted deployments pretty easily in Octopus as well. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek to some of the new features that we have coming up. But using our dashboard or single pane of glass, you will know where your releases are regardless of your multi-tenancy strategy. You're able to sort of see key information about your tenants at a glance, just for example, like the projects they belong to, the assigned tenant tags, as well as the environments for each of your tenants. Awesome. So now we get to the good stuff. So for this next part of the presentation, what I'd like to do is to walk through a couple of the new features that we've released for multi-tenancy in Octopus that the team's been hard at work this year. And a lot of what we've been working on, really, if I could just sum it up, is to improve the visibility, management, as well as the speed at which users can really sort of navigate through their tenants as well as perform deployments to their tenants. And the first feature that I'd like to sort of talk about is the new tenant overview dashboard that we've released earlier this year. This is what the old tenant overview dashboard looked like. It was basically a card-based dashboard where essentially each of these cards that you see on this dashboard denotes a different tenant. So what we would have is basically the tenant logo, if you had one, the tenant name as well. And if you can see those little colored boxes underneath the tenant name, that's what we use to denote tenant tags. And when the tenants feature was first released in Octopus, this was fine because a lot of our customers started using tenants in Octopus, and hey, they would maybe have 10 tenants, 20 tenants, 30 tenants, and so they weren't really using sort of hundreds or thousands of tenants. They usually had a very small pool of tenants when they first started. But as our customers really understood the benefits of multi-tenancy in Octopus and really started scaling up the number of tenants that they had in Octopus, this dashboard just didn't cut it. It didn't give them the information that they were looking for at a glance, particularly around the projects that they were connected to or what the tags really were. It really didn't give them enough information, especially about the environments that they may be connected to as well. And so it didn't really just give that visibility at scale, of understanding, the state of your tenants, as well as what were the different configurations that were attached to your tenants, whether they were projects or tags or environments. And so we're quite happy to say that, hey, this is something that we've fixed this year, or something that we've helped to elevate this year through our new tenant overview dashboard. So I'd be more than happy to sort of walk through what this looks like in the demo instance, which I will be switching to right now. All right, so here we are on the Octopus Deploy demo instance, and what you're seeing here is the space level dashboard, which is where most, if not all, of our Octopus users will land when they first get into Octopus. And in order to access our new Tenants Overview dashboard, all you have to do is to go to this top menu, top nav bar menu item here called Tenants, and here we go. We are at the new Tenant Overview dashboard. So what's new with this dashboard is, as you can see, we've sort of totally redid the dashboard from the ground up, ripped up the card space dashboard that you saw earlier. And basically the first thing is that we've implemented a new data table here. So, and in this data table, the information that we're displaying here is the tenant name, the tenant tag, the projects that are connected to that tenant, as well as the environments that are connected to that particular tenant as well. So as you can see at a glance already, you're able to see a lot more information about your tenants, as well as all the important associated items that you might be interested in with respect to your tenants. So another cool feature about this new dashboard are the filters. So as you can see here, we've got a bunch of filters here, which are essentially rules-based filters. So in the previous dashboard, what we had was we still had a filtering system in the old dashboard, but you weren't able to sort of build sort of powerful rules that were able to include or exclude certain things that you might be searching about your tenant. So for example, here, if we can just show, so I can do something like, all right, I want to be able to look for a tenant that is maybe connected to this Formula One app. Project, right? So, filtered by project is Formula One app. And as you can see, we're showing 70 of 272 tenants that are associated with Formula One app. We can also do exclusionary filters here now, which was something that we didn't have previously. So for example, we could have project is not Formula One app. And as you can see, that's the opposite of obviously what was shown. So it's showing 70 of 272 before, and now it's showing 202 of 272. So the inclusion and exclusionary filters are quite powerful for users that are trying to filter through thousands of tenants, because it allows them to exclude certain characteristics of tenants that they're not looking for, and maybe include certain characteristics that they are looking for. And again, because this is rules-based, we can actually start stacking these rules together in order to have a really good granular view of the kind of tenants that we're looking for. So for example, let's say I am looking for a tenant that is connected to Project Is Formula One app. And then maybe, I'm like, all right, cool. I actually want to see, what kind of tag they're associated with as well. So for example, we could filter it by, this tag set's called another tag set, but we can filter it by a tag set and select particular tags in which they can be associated with. So for example, maybe I'm looking for a tenant that is associated with test tag 1. And it comes up with amber bracket essentially. Or maybe you're not looking for something that's associated with test tag 1, and as you can see, that's taken out the tenant that's associated with that as well. And so so using our new rules-based filters, we're able to really dive deeper into certain tenants that we're looking for and really define what you're actually looking for. So it really improves the navigation and the findability and searchability of specific tenants. And when you are applying the rules, what's great is that we provide you a little summary at the top here of what are the rules that you're actually attaching together, the number of different characteristics that you might be attaching to it, and just gives you that just better detail in terms of what you're searching for. So that's pretty neat in terms of the new filter, searchability, and navigation. You're also able to actually share filters. So for example, if let's go back to project is Formula One app, and maybe you're like, oh, actually, I found the tenant. It was Amber Brockett that I was looking for. And what you can do is that if you have a team member that's like, hey, I've actually been looking for the Amber Brockett tenant, or I've been looking for tenants that fulfill this particular criteria. Can you please share, the search criteria, search filters with me? You can just hit the share filter, and what this is a deep link URL that you can copy to clipboard and basically share it to them in, Slack, Microsoft Teams, or even an email. If anyone still uses email, I'm sure everyone does. But essentially, you're able to really easily share this information across, and really, helps to bring your teammates up to speed in terms of the tenant that you looked for, or to help them look for the particular tenant that they wanted to look for. And the final thing I wanted to talk about the filters here is that you're able to download this as a CSV. So the CSV downloads what you see, what you get. So essentially, for example, if I were to leave it like this, and there are 272 tenants here, and I downloaded this CSV, it would just download, what the tenants were, what the tenant tags that are associated with the tenants, the projects, and the environments. If I were to, again, apply the same filters as before, so Formula One app, and another tag set is tag 2, and it's Amber Brockett, and I clicked download CSV, that would only download the Amber Brockett information. So the tenant name, Amber Brockett, tenant tags associated with Amber Brockett, projects associated with Amber Brockett. You get the point. I am repeating Amber Brockett quite a bit. So so that's pretty neat. And again, that's all helps with a lot of sort of data management for our customers who, maybe they just want to be able to have an Excel view of everything that they want to see, and having all of these things basically unbounded or outside of the collapsible rows in Excel, and just allows them to see that data much clearer, perhaps outside on a spreadsheet sort of tool. Awesome. A couple more things about this dashboard that I'd love to chat about. So for example, as you can see here, and as I've already mentioned, we do have collapsible rows. And the purpose of these collapsible rows is obviously to keep it pretty neat and tidy in terms of the information that you're looking for about the tenant. But let's say, you really want to, you've come to Beige Elk, and you're like, hey, I really want to be able to see what these, +5 projects, or what these environments that they're connected with. You can simply just open this, and now you're able to see essentially, all of the different projects that are connected to Beige Elk, as well as all the different tenant tags that are associated with Beige Elk. As well as obviously the tenant tags, which we've only got one here for now. So again, this really helps with, not just keeping the table neat, but really giving customers the option of, if there is additional information that you want to see, that it is available at a glance or at a click in this case. And that you're able to access the information with little to no hassle. And finally, what I want to talk about this table is that, we've got pagination controls here. So the previous tenant dashboard had no pagination. And that was fine when you had up to, again, as mentioned, 50 to 60 tenants. But once you get past that level, probably you'd require some level of pagination and or results control to ensure that, the dashboard isn't getting too unwieldy, and that, you're not having too many tenants on the page at the same time. So you're able to scroll through the different tenants using the pagination controls. And you're also able to show different results per page. So for example, at the moment, I've got 30 tenants per page. We can go up to 50 tenants, so you're able to see a lot more at a glance if you so require. Or, for our power users, and they really want to see all these tenants, you can go up to 100 a page and basically, see 100 tenants at the same time for whatever reasons that you might have to see 100 tenants at the same time. Awesome. Cool. So that's what I wanted to show in terms of the new tenant overview dashboard. And again, a lot of the work that we've done here is to really solve that user problem around visibility at scale, navigation at scale, and findability at scale, especially when we're talking about tenants. And you can have so many different things associated with tenants, such as projects, environments, and tags, and previously difficult to see them, difficult to really manage them, difficult to really understand the relationships that tenants might have to different projects, tags, as well as environments. But here on this dashboard, we've really brought all the concepts together in one single pane of glass, and really helps users who, existing users of multi-tenancy, new users of multi-tenancy, or even anyone that's in existing, but they might have joined the company and be like, hey, what are tenants and how are they associated with all the different things that we might have in our instance. Having a dashboard like this and the powerful way in which you can view and find things really helps them also onboard onto the tenants feature and really understand the value that tenants can bring to the Octopus instance. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about with the tenant overview dashboard. And the next feature that we'll talk about is bulk actions to connect tenants and projects. So this is what it is over here, and I wish I had a screenshot of what it was previously, but unfortunately we've updated all our Octopus cloud instances and stuff, so I don't have that. But essentially, how we used to connect tenants and projects can all be boiled down to this. Let's say you had, let's say, let's take the SaaS example, right? So let's say you work in a product, and you white label it for maybe 10 different customers at the moment. Let's just say you do that. And let's say, your company signs a new contract and they're like, hey, we've got 10 other customers that want to use our product. Let's hook them up as tenants in Octopus. And once you do that, we need to sort of maybe deploy our product to them today or something like that. So what tended to happen before we had the bulk actions was that you had to actually do that sort of one by one. So you had to create a new tenant and then go into that tenant, connect it to an existing project, get out of that tenant, create another new tenant, and then go into another, the existing project, connect that. So it was a very singular based action. It was a very time wasteful action. It was very administrative and heavy and very manual, essentially, where it just didn't make sense that we have customers that currently in Octopus, they have thousands of tenants or thousands of projects, and so when they create a new tenant or they create a new project, they are looking, they're facing the fact that they have to actually connect each of these projects, each of these tenants one by one to existing projects or tenants. And yeah, it can take a lot of time, and folks don't want to do that. They want to make sure that a lot of it's as automated as can be, or to cut down a lot of manual time that they're running around with these administrative tasks in Octopus, because they want to focus, they want to shift focus to what they prefer to be focusing on, which is defining their deployment process and ensuring that their deployments are getting out to their tenants. So we've made it a lot easier to onboard new tenants or new projects into Octopus using the new bulk actions that we have. So I will now flick back over into the demo instance to show you what that bulk action looks like. Cool. So let's say again, let's start off with the projects with multiple tenants, which I think would be a lot more relevant to a lot of folks. So for example, let's say like, hey, we've got a couple of new tenants and we want to connect them up to a project. This project has all the tenants. So let me find yes, that's right. This is the project I created for Shipped. As you can see, we try to be as seamless as possible with these demos, but then too many projects and I couldn't find it. So let's just say, hey, we've got a new SHIPPED23 project, right? And we're like, okay, we need to connect this up to all of our existing tenants. Again, as mentioned, what you would have had to do previously was that you had to sort of connect it one by one. So imagine connecting, I've only got 260 tenants in this instance, for example. Let's say you've got thousands, which some of our customers are running. You have to do that one by one. And basically that could be your whole morning or even your whole day, depending on, how your index finger is feeling after connecting 100 tenants one by one. But now we've made it a lot easier. So for example, let's say I want to connect all 263 tenants to this SHIPPED23 project. All I got to do is hit this. And what you have now is this beautiful wizard, which sort of shows you on the left-hand side all of the tenants that are in this instance and available to connect to your specific project. And on this right-hand side of the window, what it is that when you start selecting your tenants, so for example, we can select a couple of these tenants here, it'll show you the fact that, okay, you've selected these tenants to actually connect to this project. So depending on how many tenants you want to connect, as mentioned, you can connect, a couple that maybe you're like, okay, these are the ones that I know I want to connect to this project. Or what happens more often than not is that a lot of our customers are actually connecting all their tenants to a new project or existing project that may not have these tenants. So when you want to do that, all you got to do is select all 272 tenants, and voila, it's all on this side of the screen, basically. A couple of things that I want to point out here is that, for example, we've also included filters here. So very similar to the filters that we had in the tenant overview dashboard, where, for example, you can build rules. And essentially, we are only allowed to build rules around tenant tags here because through our customer research and through folks that we're talking about, a lot of customers are saying that the way that they would select tenants for this bulk action is to only just use tenant tags. So we've only focused on ensuring that you're able to filter by tenant tags, but still ensuring that you still have that really powerful rules-based way of doing it. So for example, what I mean by that is that, you might be selecting customers in, for example, Basher and Abbott, for example. And again, you can be either inclusionary with the filter. So for example, these can be customers that have Basher and Abbott as their tenant tag, or not in the Bashirian habit. So, for example, that sort of, as you can see, there were 10 previously, and now there's 262, and that just depends on whether or not you put in or not in a particular tenant tag or tenant tag set. And for sometimes you'd have tenants that have multiple tenant tags. So, for example, maybe you'd have a tenant that is, you have a tenant tag specifying the geographical region in which they're in. So, for example, maybe they're in Salt Lake City or Brisbane, for example, and then maybe you'd also define them under a second tenant tag, such as the industry that they operate in. So, for example, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's tech. So you could do that as well, where you could do customers not in Bastion and Abbott, and then another tag set, which is another tenant tag set, or customer in test tag 1. And now what you see here is that these are the tenants that are specifically having both the Bastion and Abbott tag, as well as test tag 1. So again, we're bringing still the powerful way in which you can find and filter tenants via multiple selection of tenant tags, and building those multiple selections into rules-based filters that really helps you just scope down and narrow down the tenant that you're looking for. So that's the filters and how that works. And again, as mentioned, we have pagination here just for better data control and sort of better. It just looks a lot neater on this window as well. But let's say, for example, okay, I want to connect all 292 tenants here, 272 tenants, sorry, 272 tenants here. And what I'll do is that I'll hit next. And what you can do here is basically, again, you can select different environments. So theoretically speaking, when you use multi-tenancy, a lot of our customers are using a one-to-one relationship between tenants and environments. So for example, you'll have a dev tenant or a staging tenant and a production tenant, but sometimes you never ever have sort of a dev, staging, and production tenant. That's just not the way that it sort of works. Usually a production tenant is like, you're pushing packages directly to like a machine, a hospital machine, for example, like MRI machine or something like that. But sometimes for some of our customers, they do have sometimes requirements where their production tenants also requires a testing environment. So maybe it'll be like test to production. And so that's why we give the flexibility in terms of, hey, when you do have that unique scenario, maybe not all of your tenants are production tenants, but maybe they do have a dev and a staging environment. Dev and production environment for your tenants. So we give you the option of, hey, being able to do as you will with tenants and attach 2 environments or even 3 environments or 4 environments, basically attach environments to to your heart's content to all of the tenants that you want to. So you can do that, or if you do traditionally, just having production tenants or dev tenants or staging tenants, just being able to select one and having that apply to all of your tenants, assuming that these are all dev tenants, then you're able to do that as well. But let's say I'm like, all right, we're power users, we really love attaching a lot of environments to our tenants. Let's assign all available environments, so you're able to do that as well. And the great thing about this is that we really give you a call out. You're able to connect about 272 tenants to this project. We're giving you a little pane of glass to review your connection so that you're not caught unaware. So like, hey, maybe this tenant doesn't require this many environments, and you're able to either go back a step and remove that tenant, or even just redefine your environment selection here again as well. And we give you this nifty toggles. For example, if the number of environments goes past 3, again, we hide it just to make the data neat and make sure that visibly it looks very neat as well. But if you just want to see more, you're able to obviously click this and see more, essentially. Cool. So that's where you connect all of your environments. And once I hit connect, you'll see that this is also something that we've built to make sure that it's really fast. And so hopefully you'll see it today, that I'm now connecting 272 tenants to this project. And as you can see, what we do is we give you a little loading bar here, just to show you the progress that we're making. And already, as you can see, we've connected 30 tenants, 50 tenants in, I'm not sure how many seconds has passed, but, we probably just hit 10 seconds or 12 seconds. So, 10 seconds for about, 50, 60 tenants. It's really good. And as you can see, we're slowly going through it. And it should be done. I'm going to try to time it right about. I'm not timing it correctly. But as you can see, my mistiming aside, it's going through it pretty quickly. And again, as mentioned, before having this bulk action, what you have to do was to, go into one, select all the environments that you wanted to connect to it, connect that, get out of it, go into another tenant, connect that project up. And so, that would take you vastly a much longer time than what this bulk action is currently doing. As you can see, we're almost done with it. So hopefully my timing will now make sense. And we are done. There you go. So 272 tenants connected to the SHIPPED23 project. I'm going to say that took about a minute. So that's pretty fast in terms of how that's done. And again, like a lot of our customers that do want to onboard this many tenants or even more than these tenants have said that this has really helped them save time in terms of the tenants that they're onboarding. So that's the bulk action of connecting, a project to multiple tenants. What I want to showcase now is the other way around. So actually connecting a tenant to multiple projects. So for example, here, what I've created is a SHIPPED23 tenant. And as you can see, we are connected to one project because we just did the bulk action to connect all those tenants to that project. But let's say for this SHIPPED23 tenant, I'm like, you know what? This tenant is associated with all these different projects, and I want to be able to connect to those projects. So again, as you can see, same window, same sort of filters that you have here, except the difference here is that instead of tenant tags, you're able to filter by project group or the lifecycle that the project is associated with. And again, you can select, the specific projects that you might want to connect to that tenant, or if it's associated with all these projects, you're able to sort of do that as well. Hit next. Again, you can associate all the environments that you want to with this tenant. And what you'll see here is that this is probably also very, very fast. So blink and you miss it so fast. So for example, I'll connect 15 projects. And that's it. It's actually connected to all of the projects. So it's incredibly fast both ways. And again, a lot of the goal that we're trying to achieve here is that, when you're onboarding onto multi-tenancy for the first time, or let's say you're already using multi-tenancy and you have a new project or a bunch of new tenants that you just signed up to your company, you really don't want to be wasting a lot of time with the administrative tasks. So obviously this is sort of admin to sort of connect them up, to associate it with the environments. And again, when you're using tenants at scale, this can take a long time in order to get right and to make sure like the connection exists. But using these new bulk actions and the speed at which we're able to connect tenant to multiple projects and a project to multiple tenants, you're able to just seamlessly get through the onboarding process, or get through connecting all of these tenants to projects to tenants, and really then go back to focusing on what you really care about, which is defining that deployment process and making sure like the releases go out on time for your tenants from the associated projects. So that's the bulk actions that we've released this year as well for multi-tenancy. And I'll swap back into the slides in order to present the final feature that we've released for multi-tenancy this year. And that is bulk deployments. Cool. And again, this is a snapshot of what the old deployment process looked like. So when it came to multi-tenancy, one of the pains that a lot of our customers were having was that, in between sort of like defining your deployment process to creating your deployments to, actually the deployments kicking off and actually being deployed to your tenants, that it took quite a while. So for example, here, as you can see in the screenshot, this was when we were testing out, the pain point that we heard, and this is creating 49 deployments. And just creating 49 deployments, and these were singular deployments to singular tenants. So this is basically 49 tenants that we're deploying to. That it took maybe 5, 10, 15, maybe up to 20 minutes just for this progress bar to soft load. And again, this is just for 49 tenants. As you recall, I'm already saying that we have customers that are using hundreds, thousands, 2,000, 3,000 of tenants on Octopus. So this process was really, really slow. It really, really slowed down sort of like a lot of the the quick and easy sort of deployments that folks wanted to do. So for example, let's say you try and just deploy hotfix or a patch. Imagine having to wait sort of 20 minutes just to get through 49 deployments in order to do that. So it took a really, really long time to do that. And again, it's just unacceptable when we're talking about being able to deploy to tenants at scale and making sure that you're able to kick off those deployments pretty easily. And so the way that we solve that is using our bulk deployment feature, where instead of waiting 20 minutes for 49 deployments to kick off, it actually just happens immediately. And the speed of it is, I think, would probably scare a lot of you, but hopefully scare a lot of you in a good way in terms of how fast it actually happens. So we'll flick back over into the demo instance, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here we see that we're deploying a release. And so, for example, let's just say I select development here, and we'll go for a tenanted deployment. And I'll select a couple tenants to deploy to via tenant tag. So for example, I'll select the Western tenant tag, and we can see that there are, again, 49 tenants that we are going to deploy here. So remember what I said, that when we were testing this ourselves, just kicking off 49 deployments to these tenants would take 10, 15, 20 minutes to just complete through that progress bar. And that progress bar does nothing. It's just progress, and then after that does the deployments kick off. So what I'm going to show you now is that there is no progress bar. It just kicks off. And that's because of the new bulk deployment feature. So what we've done is that we've grouped all the tasks together into a single task, and that just helps to really speed up the whole sort of deployment process. So I'm going to hit deploy. And that's it. It actually just goes through. And hopefully this isn't this is a more like last but not least sort of feature, but it's really, really crucial that we're able to get to this stage as quickly as possible and not be stopped at a progress bar even before we get to deploy to all these tenants. And yeah, as you can see, it's just gone through. Well, it's actually completed, and that's in contrast with having to wait for this progress bar to fill up, to complete, to be like, hey, all right, this progress bar is done, and then we kick off the deployments. It just goes straight into the deployments. You're able to kick it all off, and it's already completed by the time even before I finished my explanation of it. So again, a lot of what we were trying to solve here is really speed to deployment, making sure that folks are able to get to what they need to in terms of deploying to their tenants in a timely manner, and removing friction points in that journey where they don't want to be waiting around, especially when imagine you had a hot fix to fix a really crucial bug, and you're stuck at that loading screen for 15, 20 minutes at a time. I think that's probably not something that anyone wants to go through, and you want to be able to kick off those deployments solved immediately. So again, this just really showcases sort of like the speed at which you can do your tenanted deployments. And obviously I've only shown 49 here, but we've had conversations with customers or even internally within the company where folks have been deploying to 200, 300, 400, even 1,000 tenants, and the same speed exists as well. So again, speed to deployment, speed to getting the things that you want to get out to your tenants as quickly as you can. That's all achievable now with our new bulk deployments feature. Awesome. So I'll flip back over to the slides for a couple of concluding statements. So yeah, that's all. That's the whole presentation today. So really, really thank you. Thank you for coming over to SHIPPED23. Thank you for listening to what I had to chat about in terms of multi-tenancy and all the new things that the team has done this year. I feel that we've really hit the ground running and really achieved great goals. And yeah, if you want to learn more about multi-tenancy, please feel free to visit our use case page at octopus.com/features/tenants. Until next time, I'll see you then, and have a great rest of SHIPPED23 to look forward to.